The title of the play, For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough, is very telling, and I think it's something that we can sort of give some attention to and give some consideration to. She dedicates the title. The title itself is a dedication, and the dedication is that the play is for colored girls. The term colored was, by the time she had finished this play, more akin to describing the non-white people, the people who are not white. And one of the interesting things about the staging of the play, when they moved from California to New York, was that it began to capture the experiences of African Americans and Afro Hispanic, Afro Latino characters, and they're built into the play itself. There are interesting references to Haitian culture. Toussaint is one of the characters that appears in the work. There's a character called Kwame. There's an interesting way in which Ntosake Shange is engaging Black culture, Black society, but global Black culture and global Black society. But fundamentally, it's still women. It's the voices of women that she's telling. Now, something you may know is that For Colored Girls was actually made into a film by Tyler Perry a few years ago. It wasn't a very successful film, and I think one of the reasons why it doesn't succeed as it might have is that Perry, I think out of his own, I think Perry loved the play and was very fascinated by the play, but I think he missed a very important thing. The play In the play, there are no male actors in the play. Okay, there are no male actors in the play, and they're male characters, or they're male figures that are referenced in the play, and all of them are played by women. In other words, all of them are sort of embodied by women, and there's something about that agency that is hugely important. What Tyler Perry did was that he took those characters and actually had male actors play the roles. And that changed the entire politics and dynamic of the play. And I mention it really to draw back attention to what Ntosake Shange was attempting to do and was frankly achieving. Um, and I think it takes us to sort of the core heart of the piece. Now, there are many ways in which you can read this work and you can think about it and write about it. But one of the things that I think is fair to say is that it is a series of poems. So there is a sense in which what we're talking about is a long poem that is made up of a series of shorter poems, and each of these poems is a kind of a scenario, a vignette. It tells its own story in itself, and the way in which the thing holds together is that these stories echo, they repeat, and they're held together by the sinew of the chorus and the choric line, but they also held together by the communality that these women share, the communality of being supportive of each other. So, in the staging of this play, in the various stages of this play, even as the women are telling their stories, even as the women are telling very, very, very difficult and very emotionally, physically difficult stories to tell, they're telling it to other women, and the other women are there supporting and they're there listening. And so each monologue, each articulation of a monologue is done within a community. It's done within a listening and an attentive community. And what are the stories? There's so many stories. There's stories of relationships that have been broken up. There's a wonderful piece where there's a litany of complaints about the failings of men in relationships. There's also litanies of the failings of women and what errors they make in relationships. There is a simulation of a rape scene and a tragic date rape situation. There's this simulation of the kind of abusive, physically abusive relationships that women have to undergo. There's that wonderful piece that says somebody's run away with all my stuff, somebody's escaped with all my stuff, and yet there are moments of great sublimation. There are moments of celebration, moments in which the women find joy. They find dance as a way to overcome the struggles that they're going through. They find song as a way to overcome the struggles that they're going through. One of the most moving stories in the work is this love story between Toussaint, a character called Toussaint Jones. It's a memory of a childhood affair, a childhood relationship, and it's really telling that the only successful relationship between men and women, romantic relationship between men and women, is that between men who before men become boys become men, and somehow this is really one of the curiosities there. But in that accounting, the relationship is not just merely a relationship between these two black kids, but in a sense, it's the naming of the boy Toussaint Jones. Is consciously connecting to Toussaint Louverture, the great Haitian revolutionary who led Haiti into independence in the late 18th century, and represented the first and for a long time the only black independent nation that had fought for its independence, especially in the New World. Of course, in Africa they had all their independent nations, but nations that fought for their independence from European rule and successfully did so. So there's that element in there, and Ntosake Shange is very conscious of articulating that experience. Yet, what in the last chapter of this talk, I'm going to look very closely at one of the key scenes and the key moments in the work. There are two moments in the work that I think are worth paying attention to, and I propose that the way that the play is organized is that it's taking us towards this point, right? This point of dramatic and powerful explosion. Let's just rehearse some of the key factors that are guiding the construction and the way in which this play is staged. Without props and without design elements, that is, flats and all the other kinds of things on stage, what we have are these bodies that must tell these stories, and what we have are these stories that come to us, and these stories that articulate in the most raw and difficult ways some of the tough and sometimes highly taboo experiences of women. Menstruation is sort of confronted and articulated. Issues to do with female reproduction are articulated and put out for the audience to contend with. And in the end, there's this clear sense in which she is rehearsing the challenges that African American women and women of color in America face. Is Ntosake Shange just writing a diatribe against men? No, but she's certainly writing an effective protest against patriarchy and patriarchal society. But she's also recognizing the ways in which women have been affected by patriarchal society, and the ways in which women face their own guilt and their own feeling that they may have been complicit in some of the elements in there. It's really, really a moving and powerful play. We'll come to the final moments at the end in the last section.